The number one problem in America is the lack of integrity in their elected officials. Because if they had integrity and understood the Constitution, they wouldn't continue to devalue the dollar by going into more and more debt. They wouldn't continue to do the things that we're doing. And also at the at the judicial branch, it's the same thing. Now, one of our founders, and I don't remember who it was that said this, but he said, even though we have the Constitution, it is paper. And he said, these are laws. We're a nation of laws, not of men, but it is the men that must do the business. And so Samuel Adams said, when it comes to the private lives of your public officials, you cannot be too curious. So it's up to you guys to grill me and say, now wait a minute, this isn't right. We have to hold them accountable. Have any of you ever heard the story of Davy Crockett in Tennessee called Sock Dollar? You ever heard that story? If you have internet access, go to type in Davy Crockett, and I think it's Sock Dollar or Sock Dollar. And this is the story that happened. Davy Crockett was unopposed, and he said, I was seeing a man that was plowing his furrows, and I wanted to gate myself just right to where I met him at the fence as he was plowing. And seeing that I didn't have, he said, and seeing that I didn't have an opponent so far, I was back in my district, and I wanted to make sure that, I was still okay with my people, so I went to visit them. And as he walked up, he started talking to the guy, and he said, sir, I'm Davy Crockett, I'm running for, he said, I know who you are, Mr. Crockett, and he said, and I'll never vote for you again. And he's like, well, sir, what did I do? He said, you obviously don't understand the Constitution. And he said, well, sir, with everything in me, I try to defend and protect the Constitution. What vote did I make that was unconstitutional? He said, well, do you remember the night, he told him about this vote, that there was an appropriation made, there was a fire in D.C., and so the the House of Representatives, so a few of his friends, they went over and tried to squelch this fire. And as they squelched it the next morning, they felt so bad about all the devastation that they had seen that they went and put an appropriation bill in for an amount of money to rebuild that entire community back up. And so he said, that vote was unconstitutional. It is not your job to dole out charity. He said, because there are many people all over America that have catastrophes happen. And he said, those people have to be able to pull themselves up and help each other out. He said, if you do that, you'll bankrupt the nation by taking more and more taxes from people and starting this organization. It's not your job. Davy Crockett said, sir, you're right. I promise if I'll never do that again, can I get your vote? The guy said, yes, I'll think about it. Anyway, I think the guy wound up voting for him or not, I'm not sure. But he went back to D.C., got elected again, and this time there was a bill that was put in. Now, get this, this was during one of the wars that we had, and he actually said that these guys had put in a bill to help this widow lady out. Her husband had died, she had many children, and he was a war hero. And he said, we need to put in this bill so that she can have a house and have her debt paid off, and he was a war hero. And Davy Crockett killed that bill. He stood up and he said, it is not our place to dole out charity. And he said, she's as deserving as anyone, but how many others are there in this army that deserve that as well? And he goes, for the amount here, he said, I won't give. And he said, you all know I'm the poorest man in this house. He said, I'll give 1 week of my pay. And if every one of us give 1 week of our pay to this widow, he said, it will it will equal or exceed the amount of this appropriation bill that you have. And he killed the bill. That's right. So that's the story of Davy Crockett and Sock Dollar. So it's understanding, it's knowing our history, and guys, I've got a lot to learn. I don't have it all figured out, but I am trying with everything that I have to figure it out.